Hey, happy Thursday, whether it's morning, afternoon, or evening, wherever you are. I'm Doug Kalem, and my colleague and co-director of CORE Central Ohio Reuse Coalition is Dan Barish. We'll be presenting our reuse coffee shop pilot. Um, First of all, thanks to Mel and Macy. They're the true M&Ms. A lot of slides here. What's important is we wanted you to understand why we decided to implement this program, how it's funded, what the data is showing us so far, and lessons learned. So here you can see our who we are. I'm not going to read this, but this is our public-facing statement. It's also important to know we're a chapter of the Austin-based plastic reduction project. So shout out to Sean Wynn, who I think is on the call. Beyond what's written here, the model that's working for us is working with local, municipal sustainability groups. So one would be the Worthington Partnership Green Team. That's another hat that Dan wears. The Green Bexley, they have an environmental sustainability advisory committee, and these groups are either directly related, they work hand in hand with local city councils, or they're just loosely associated. So they've been really good coalition partners. And then you also noticed in several slides further on that the Solid Waste Authority of Central Ohio is a coalition partner, and they've been instrumental in moving this forward. So here are just some logos. I have to refresh this. These are kind of fuzzy and hard to read. So the background for our pilot, first of all, I want to make sure you guys can hear me. So I'm a little bit vocally handicapped. So
Yeah, Doug, you sound great. Super easy to
awesome.
understand.
Okay, cool. So why we decided to do this? So we are a blue city, a blue county, in what has become over the last 12 years a very red state. So it's a preemptive state. It's very cautious. Even the cities, I wouldn't say Ohio cities, Cleveland, Cincinnati, Columbus, Dayton, Akron, none of these are real leaders in the way definitely not compared to European cities, and definitely not to some of the Pacific Northwest and West Coast cities. But when we first started the coalition, we were thinking, hey, let's try reuse in restaurants just for dine-in. But we kind of felt that to quicker impact would be coffee shops, like a lower hanging fruit. So we wanted to establish a reuse beachhead in Central Ohio. Take the beach, plant a reuse flag, start a conversation with electeds and business partners and consumers. And then the idea of the pilot was this is a pilot. We're gonna learn a lot. Let's collect data, identify the issues, the challenges, the friction points, and see where it goes. So here's a timeline. Dan and I said last year, let's get one shop up and running by June 24, and maybe by the end of the year we can have 5. But things took some time. We presented the idea to City Council in Earth Day 24. But so we're kind of behind our original schedule. But as of today, we have 9 participating locations, with the 10th, which will be coming online at the end of the month. So in terms of numbers, we've exceeded our expectations, which kind of points to the business owners they like the idea, and they're willing to take the leap and work with us. So we received funding from the city of Columbus. We presented it. We asked for 5,000, and they gave us 7,500. So I realized in terms of city budgets, 7,500 is chump change. In June of last year, we received the Upstream's Pastor grant funding. Thanks. That really helped us to kick things off. And we launched our first shop in Bexley, which is a pretty wealthy inner ring suburb of Columbus, with the Upstream grant. And you can see the Solid Waste Authority. So the Worthington Green Team, the partnership Green Team, Dan applied for a reuse grant and to, among other things, to expand the network. And we got that grant. So we've been working, getting more shops on board. When one more, like I said before, one more shop will join the network. It is a lot, this part of getting the shops on board, and it's a lot of legwork. So in terms of the coalition, when Dan and I sleep, the coalition sleeps. We don't have a lot of, volunteers coming in and helping out, here and there, but we're the drivers, so it's a lot. So here is a network map. So this is, and actually when we launched the 10th shop, we're going to have to expand the map because the 10th shop is much further west. So that kind of vertical line going down the middle is US 23 High Street in Columbus. And so most of the shops are, you can see in north in Worthington or downtown and Bexley, you see Kitty's Cafe and It's a Wonderful Time. So these are and the 10th shop will be in the suburb of Hilliard, which is to the west. It's actually an outer beltway suburb, so we'll have to expand our map. So I'm going to turn it over to Dan now. We'll talk about funding and data.
Thanks, Doug. So yeah, Doug already touched on this a bit. We got the 7,500 from the city of Columbus because we had a champion on city council. Thank you to the awesome folks at Upstream for that pass-through grant. That was our first shop. It's Wonderful Times. And then again, as Doug referenced, SWACO, which is the Solid Waste Authority of Central Ohio, has this really great community waste reduction program that they run every year. And the Worthington Partnership, which is another group I'm involved in, and the Worthington Green Team, we got a grant to focus on reuse in downtown Worthington at a farmers market, and that includes the Okapi reusable cup program. So at the bottom are a couple of key points relating to this whole process. Funding was really critical to make this cost neutral for shops. So when we got to a decision maker at a coffee shop, we could make the case that this wasn't really going to cost them anything, that they had grant funding. And that obviously made the sale of the concept a lot easier. And that funding covers things like the purchase of the cups, marketing, incentives. There's some fees involved as well. So really, the shop doesn't have to put out any additional cost. I mean, they have to pay for the cup. They have to wash the cups. So technically, that's a cost as well. And the barista will occasionally talk about the program to customers. But overall, it's a minimal financial impact for the shops.
I want to interject for a second, Dan. I forgot to mention we are using Okapi Reusables in Portland, Oregon as our cup provider. We looked at two other cup providers. We decided to go with Okapi because of cost for the shops, and we felt it was the most mature software product out there. Back to you, Dan.
Okay. So Okapi provides us with data, which we have been analyzing. What we see here is our first 8 shops, and each bar represents a month. And so you can see by shop the trend in borrows. So borrows is when someone goes to a shop and uses the app to borrow a beverage in a reusable Okapi stainless steel cup. So our star is probably with the Kitties in Worthington, which is an extremely busy coffee shop. They've had steady growth from the beginning in terms of the number of borrows. So we're really happy about that. At the other extreme is Good Cafe, which ended up having a lot of challenges. The owner basically has two full-time jobs, and she's just got a lot on her plate. There were other factors that, I mean, it just, it's far away from where Doug and I live. So, getting there to table and stuff took a little more time. So, that was a lesson learned that you really need TLC for these shops, not just to get them started and launched, but as they mature and attract customers.
Hey, Dan, before you move on from this data collection, would you mind explaining the different colors on the graph?
So those just correspond to months.
Oh, okay.
So I think
If you look at So Wonderful Times, they're the first ones. The blue is January, red is February, orange, March, April, May, June. So yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Thank you.
sure. So another metric is unique borrowers per site. One thing we discovered for a lot of these coffee shops is that you get a small number of core people who are really into the program and are going to the shop multiple times a week. And then you have a bunch of other people who aren't using it as much. So unique borrowers per site is an interesting metric. And again, you can see that how this progresses from January going forward. And a lot of shops, or some shops, started out strong. We gave them a lot of focus, signed up a lot of people, and then it kind of dropped a little bit. But there are exceptions to that, like Worthington and Sunny Sips, which is a little yellow trailer that sells smoothies. They're just getting going as well. So one takeaway we've had from all this is that you really need to keep working and attracting more customers to the program. I mean, we're confident they're out there, but you need to table and promote and provide incentives that resonate with them. We also, when we first started, did a survey of customers or potential customers at Wonderful Times, that first shop we opened in. And the results of that survey were very promising and really gave us some confidence that we're on the right track. Almost everybody wants to reduce single-use plastics, and you can see the other numbers there. This program requires a $10 one-time fee, and almost 9 out of 10 people thought that was perfectly reasonable. And oftentimes we have various kinds of incentives to reduce that. And then we also want to do a follow-up survey with people who are actually, using the program for a while. So that's in process. So lessons learned. Customer hesitancy is an obstacle. Reuse of the abstract, everyone knows what it means, but explaining this kind of concept about borrowing and returning and the fact that the shop cleans the cups and you don't, you're using an app, it's very new. It's a little baffling to some people, and it's really compelling to others. But it does take some explaining, both, when we approach the decision makers of coffee shops and when we're talking to customers. Some people get it right away, other people don't. And we're going up against the whole disposable mindset that is just embedded in our world.
So it's like, for me, it was like a red pill, blue pill moment. Like, we took the pill. It's like, now I can't not see people sitting down in coffee shops, not doing takeout with their disposable cups and their plastic straws. So, for me, that seems one of the most formidable things. Is like, like what Dan said, the culture of disposable culture is so embedded, and along comes something like reuse. We need to explain it and see how it works. And some customers, they're in the shop, we talk to them, they want to just get their coffee and leave. They're not really interested in hearing a pitch. and sometimes downloading an app is just more friction for them.
Uh, so moving on, the baristas play a key role in this. And in a perfect world, from our perspective, every barista, every time they had an interaction with a customer, would mention, "Hey, we've got this really cool reusable cup network we're involved in." But that's not the reality. Baristas are busy. They have other things that are higher priority, like ringing in customers, and preparing drinks, and so forth. Um, so we have worked with coffee shop owners to work with the baristas. In some cases, Kitty's is one of these. The owners are really modeling what we want because they are using the program themselves on a frequent basis. Um, but if the baristas are not given the impression or not told that it's part of the job is to mention this at least occasionally if you have time, then it probably won't happen.
Yeah, so we do before each shop launch, we train the baristas and we tell them how the program works. We give them an FAQ document for in case customers ask questions. We don't see it as our job to tell them how to do their job. We're hoping the business owners do that. And one of the shops, like I told the owner, hey, I watched one of your baristas. She didn't even ask somebody just for here to go. And he said, oh, she's not supposed to do that. They're always supposed to ask. And if it's for here, they're supposed to pour the drink into a ceramic cup, but that's not happening. And so I think there's opportunity here for us to work with the owners and baristas it's like a workflow. Hey, is this for here to go? Oh, it's to go. Hey, have you thought about this program? I don't want them to have to feel they have to make a hard sell. But if they ask the same question to a customer 3 or 4 times, maybe by that fourth time, the customer goes, huh, this is interesting. You keep on mentioning it. Let me check this out.
So, item 4, tabling is moderately successful. It really depends when and where. If you're going to a coffee shop at 8 a.m. in the middle of rush hour when they have a lot of commuters, that's not a good time to table because, like it says here, people are busy. They just want to get their drink and leave. If you go other times of the day, or maybe when it's quieter or different environments, like a farmer's market, um, it can be a little more successful. And at the same time, tabling is kind of too late. Ideally, they hear about the program earlier from our social media posts or other communication means. Yeah, and like we're saying, some owners are just they're all in. They think it's really cool. They're doing it themselves. They're talking to baristas, and others, uh, even if they're extremely interested and motivated, they're also small business people with 1,000 things going on all the time. And so, sometimes something has to give. Um, Number 7, I alluded to this a little bit earlier, but there are some very loyal customers. I think our number one customer has like 70 borrows in a few months, and there's plenty with 30, 40, 50. So once people get in the habit, they keep coming, at least some do. Um, and it's important to recognize and give credit to coalition partners. Although it's mostly me and Doug, we've had some help from others, and it is really important to give them credit. So that's what a coalition is all about. Everyone cooperating and collaborating. So next steps, how can we increase adoption rates? We had this either brainstorm or insane idea that maybe we should reach out to coffee influencers and essentially pay them. That's the way it works. We just had our first one post something. It was a lot less expensive than I thought, and it was really cool. So I think we're gonna keep doing that. We're hoping that coffee influencers will have a wide impact online because they're followed by people who love coffee. Digital marketing, something we're looking at. We've tried various kinds of incentives, and we need to do more analysis on like what really works. Do you incentivize that $10 one-time fee? Do you instead focus on the drinks, get your first drink free, or get a few dollars off your drink, or whatever, or maybe both? Um, and again, it gets complicated because every shop is different, every customer is different. Tweaking the message. So when we first started tabling and approaching customers, it was essentially, we've got this really great reusable cup program. Let me tell you about it. What we found was more successful is to tie it to the shop. I mean, that's why they're there. They're at Kitty's because presumably they like Kitty's and they want to get a coffee there. So, and also try to make it like neighborhood, locally oriented. So, are you interested in helping Kitty's with this sustainability program they've launched? Um, we're trying to do something about all those single-use cups in our neighborhood, and we think that's maybe a little better approach in getting people's attention. Also, we want to find a way to work the health benefits into reuse in terms of microplastics and all the other awful chemicals in plastic. Um, haven't really found a good way to do that. I mean, some people are already aware of it, so it resonates with them. But at the same time, a lot of people go to a coffee shop to get a good drink and have a good conversation, and the health impacts are kind of a downer.
Yeah.
And just to respond to Sean's point, it's the whole idea is you can borrow a cup and return a cup in any shop in the network, and it doesn't really matter. And then finally, we haven't done this, but we want to set up regular meetings with owners, maybe once a month, but probably too often, or even once a quarter, after the initial launch, to see how things are going and see what this.
Yeah, we also thought about identifying the loyal customers and just asking them what they think, and having them be kind of like our advanced forces to spread the word, why they like it, etc. When someone told me in one of the tabling events, he's a regular customer, he has epilepsy, he says he likes the cups because if he drops them, they don't spill, which is most of the time.